Welcome to part 2 of our Commodore VIC-20 repair and restoration series. In part 1, we found out that both of these VIC-20s actually work because I didn't have a power supply for a long time, and we managed to get a power supply situation figured out for these because these are not like the later VIC-20s and C64s. They use a different style power supply. And then on this one, we did some keyboard repair, mainly with the spacebar stabilizer. It's kind of a janky repair, but it actually does work, so if you have a broken stabilizer on a Commodore keyboard, you might want to go check that out because it might actually help you. And we just did a basic cleaning on it and its keyboard, and that one's pretty much ready to go. There's not a lot we have to do with that. This one, on the other hand, as you can see, is very yellowed, it's very nasty, and it's going to need a full de-yellowing and cleaning, as well as keyboard repair, because this one has a broken off key. So, stick around for this, and we're gonna restore this one completely, and I think it'll look pretty good by the time we're done. It's definitely a bit rough, but I think we can manage to get it to look pretty close to this one. All right, so our first task is going to be stripping the machine all the way down, because this thing needs a very good cleaning, and then of course we need to retrobrite it. This doesn't look quite that bad on the camera. If I adjust the camera down here, that's about what it looks like in real life. But I leave the ISO up here so we can actually, see mostly what we're doing. These screws on this one are a bit loose, actually. I'm fairly certain I've never taken this one apart, so maybe somebody's been in here before. They didn't have that nice crunchy snap that you get when screws have sat for like a couple decades. And here we are. It's not too dirty. It's a bit dusty, but it's not too bad. Ah, yes. This was a problem on the other one that I just briefly fixed off camera. This heatsink, as you can see, it has some, I don't know if it's supposed to be Loctite or whatever on here. It's supposed to stop this from moving around, this heatsink. We're just gonna take the board out anyways, so we might as well just tighten that down so it doesn't flop around like that. This one's not quite as old as I thought it might be. I thought this might be like a 1981 VIC-20. You can see this is 35th week of 82 here on the CPU. Some of the other date codes like 36th week of 82, 37th week of 82. So this is actually a mid to late 1982 machine, which is definitely not what I was expecting, given that this one still has the older style VIC-20 badge, but hey, I don't really know when they changed this badge over. I just thought this was like a very early thing that they did, but maybe it stuck around longer than I realized. Yeah, so here's that screw that I was talking about, and it just seems to get loose over time because the other one was loose, this one was loose. I'm assuming this is just kind of a thing that happens with these, probably due to like the thermal cycling and expansion and whatnot, but we're just gonna give that a good tightening there. There we go. Now it doesn't flop around anymore. Much, much better. Get our keyboard out of here. Here we go. Ooh, that's even worse when it's out. Ugh. That's gonna need some work. Pop this little ring out. And there we go. She's now ready for a good cleaning and our retrobrite. I decided to try cleaning the parts outside. I normally clean them inside, but I just decided to see if it was easier to spray them down with the hose. I also decided to try the baking soda method that the 8-bit guy does. I was always kind of skeptical at how well it actually worked, but you know what? That did a pretty good job, so I'm probably going to use it again in the future. While I was spraying down the pieces, I noticed this little plastic film was coming off the badge. I guess nobody ever peeled it off in the past. I use regular 3% hydrogen peroxide that you can find in any store. I find it works just as well as the higher strength stuff. It's just a little slower at working, and it's much cheaper. I dumped in 4 bottles, which only cost a little over $4. It took about a day and a half, which was actually a little quicker than I was expecting given how yellow the plastic was. However, there was a problem. Actually, a pretty big one in my opinion. When I went to pull the pieces out, I noticed the badge had bubbled up and one piece was flaking off. I have no idea how this could have happened, since it looked fine that morning, and I hadn't noticed anything a few hours ago. It honestly bummed me out a fair bit, feeling like I did something wrong, but I couldn't think of anything I had done wrong. I had debated taking the badge off originally, but I figured that the heat and removal would be more likely to damage the badge than the peroxide was. So, who knows? Maybe I made the wrong decision, or maybe I made the right one. I don't really know. Okay, so this thing with the badge has really been bothering me, because I could have swore I've seen people retrobrite these earlier VIC-20s before, and they don't have any issues with the badge getting damaged. And it turns out I was right. In fact, David Murray's actually done a VIC-20 just like this before. His had the older PET-style keyboard, and his badge was perfectly fine. In fact, he had higher ambient temperature and higher strength peroxide than what I was using, and his came out just fine. So I really don't know why mine ended up like this. The only thing I can think of is that I left it in the peroxide and water overnight. Now, this is what I always do with my retrobrite stuff, because I don't really see the need to take it out. It never seemed to affect anything ever, so I would just leave it in, and that way as soon as the sun came up in the morning, it would begin retrobriting immediately. Well, that's the only thing I can think of that I did differently that would have damaged the badge, but it could have just been a freak accident with mine. Could have been my badge was just made a little worse than all the others, or I just got really unlucky. It is unfortunate, but at least the case is not as yellowed as it once was. It's a nice cream color, as it's supposed to be, and I think I'm just going to live with the badge as is. Now, there's just nothing I can really do about it, because all the replacement badges are currently overseas. There's only like 2 sellers that are selling them, and they're both from overseas, and with the current tariff situation, I don't know if I'd only be paying a percentage of its value, which I would be willing to do, or if I could get stuck with like an $80 bill, which I don't want. So that's just gonna have to be put on hold for now. But let's just move on with the rest of the restoration. However, there is a small problem as well. Actually, it's not a small problem, it's actually quite notable. I ordered a replacement key, the delete key, because it was completely missing. I could have 3D printed a key, and so I bought a key on eBay, and no fault to the seller. This isn't their fault, but it has been stuck in the USPS system for over a week. It has not updated in a week, and even several days before that, it hadn't moved. So I don't know what's going on with it, but I really don't want to hang up making this video any longer. So I'm just gonna assemble the keyboard as is, and hopefully it gets here eventually, but yeah, there's kind of nothing I can really do about it. While the case pieces were busy being retrobrited, I decided to get to work on the keyboard. This ended up being way nastier than I expected. I mean, I knew it was bad from the top, but yeah, it was definitely a good thing that I tore it down. Unfortunately, things did not go smoothly with this either. When I was taking the keys off, I broke not 1, not 2, but 3 keycap stems. I have no idea how or why. I was pulling straight up on them, and they just snapped off. All of the keys on this keyboard in particular were extremely hard to get off. Like, it did feel like I was going to break something at any moment. You know, I was trying my best to pull straight up, and 3 of them ended up snapping off. I didn't break any on the other keyboard that I did in part 1. I took every keycap off, cleaned underneath it. There was no problem. Not a single one broke, so I don't think this was an issue with my method. I think this is just an issue with this keyboard. I have no idea why those keycaps were so tightly stuck on there, but they just were, unfortunately, so yeah, I guess we're gonna have to make some new keycap stems now. Moving along, I disassembled the keyboard, got the PCB off, and cleaned everything up. It is one thing I do like about these Commodore keyboards, is you can basically just disassemble the entire thing, and you can very easily wash everything. Like, I can wash the entire plastic frame without any worry. Wash all the keycaps and stuff, and the key stems. It's definitely not my favorite keyboard mechanism by a long shot. I'm not a big fan, but I will say it is nice-ish from a maintenance standpoint, I guess. As for making new key stems, of course we can 3D print these. They didn't come out amazingly, to be honest, and the files that I was finding online, they seem to be a little smaller than they're supposed to be. Like, they do wobble around a fair bit in, like, the actual slot that they go in. They work fine, I guess, but the main problem is the cross-section on the top that the keycap attaches to is too loose. It's actually way too loose, like, it barely grips it at all. But I just decided to dab a tiny bit of hot glue to the top of them and just stick them on, because honestly, I didn't care. I just wanted to get it done with, so it works. Now the keys aren't popping off, so that's nice, I guess. And the keycaps actually did need to be retrobrited a little bit. You can definitely tell they were on the yellow side, and they're definitely not supposed to be on the yellow side. So I just decided to fill up a little container with some peroxide, no water needed given how small the container is, and just stuck them out for a day. And yeah, after about a day, I'd say they're pretty good. Maybe just a tad bit on the yellow side still, but they look far better than they did, so I'm happy with them. Alright, so it's all put back together, and it still works fine. I think we're unfortunately going to have to finish this video still with no key, because it's just lost in the ether of the postal system, unfortunately. I don't think it's actually going to get here at this point. So, otherwise it works fine. The spacebar is a little touchy. You have to really press on it hard to get it to register. It could just be, it needs to be cleaned a little bit more or something, but unfortunately without the delete key, it is a little bit hard to use, at least for basic, but this one at least is fully functional, and that's fantastic. Now you may remember that I mentioned that there was one more thing I wanted to do to this computer, and I've actually already done it, but I'll explain what I did. You'll see that the screen is much brighter than it was before. Basically all you have to do, if your VIC-20 is kind of dark or just dim looking, you gotta pop this cover off of the VIC chip area, which really sucks. It's really hard to get off. But once you do that, you get these two potentiometers here. This right one doesn't seem to do anything. Thankfully it was painted on mine, so I could turn it back to exactly where it was. But this left potentiometer, basically all you gotta do is just twist it gently, and that'll adjust your brightness. So I think it's probably about here originally, and that's about where it's supposed to be. Much brighter. You can see that the background is actually pretty much white like it's supposed to be. Now I did manage to get some software, however there is one thing that I have wanted to try out for a very long time now, and that is this. This is an original 24K RAM expansion for the VIC-20. It's made by MSD. Unfortunately, the label is very torn up and stuff. But yeah, this is an original, from back in the day, 24K RAM expansion. That is a ton of RAM for the VIC-20. I believe the highest the Commodore expansions ever went was 16K. And 35K, I believe, is the most that you can put in a VIC-20 in general. So this is pretty close to being maxed out, especially for back in the day. Of course, the VIC-20 cartridge slot is notoriously hard to get in, geez. They aren't kidding. There we go. All right, so let's see if this works. It's taking a while. Hey, look at that. 28 159 bytes free. So yeah, we have 28K on a VIC-20. I mean, really it's 29K, but yeah, we don't get to use all of it. But that's super cool, super V-cool actually. But yeah, that's really neat that that works. Unfortunately, it's still not enough to play some of the newer, really fancy VIC-20 games, like Petsky Robots, I believe needs 35K. So unfortunately, this isn't really all that useful actually, but it's still really neat to have. Now, when I started part 1, I did not have any software for the VIC-20s. However, I have since managed to rectify that. I picked up some cartridges. We got 6 of them here, and so I have Clowns, Mole Attack, Gorf, Cosmic Cruncher, Jupiter Lander, and Omega Race. And this is the only one that I actually kind of know what the game is like. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of like these VIC-20 cartridges, how just beige and boring and plain they are. I don't know, there's just something about them that I really like. I love how egregiously big they are for like no reason, but hey, that's what they went with. I almost forgot. You may have noticed that I'm not using the RF modulator anymore. I am using composite, and that's because I actually had some of these cables lying around, and yeah, it actually works. Now, I did take a safety precautionary measure. I believe these cables, you can see there's 4 of them here, are meant for the C64, specifically for the Chroma and Luma output. So S-video, in a sense. The trouble with using one of these kinds of cables on a VIC-20, one of these connectors is going to be, if you have a 4 connector thing like this, any cable you should test with the multimeter when you're going to use it on a VIC-20 just to make sure, because the VIC-20's video output, one of the pins has, I believe, 6 volts going out, and that's to power that external RF modulator, which means if you have a cable that's wired up in just a certain way, one of the cables will be plus 6 volts. And that is something you really do not want to put into your TV or monitor. So make sure that you test it first, so you know which connector is bad. And I actually went into the DIN connector here and I unsoldered the cable, which ended up being this black connector. So that's just something to be aware of. But of course the picture is much clearer with composite, and especially since we have adjusted it, it looks pretty good given how chunky the VIC-20 looks. I think we'll start with Omega Race, because I'll be honest, this is kind of the only game that I know what it even is. And it looks reasonably fun. Oh, jeez. Hey, nice. Oh, apparently this was a midway game. I didn't know that. Apparently you can play with paddles as well. You can change the screen color. Oh, geez. We'll leave it black. I want to play joystick. Yeah, so it's kind of like Asteroids, or Space War as well. And I don't really know how to play this. Seems like you kind of bounce all around. Jeez. Okay, I'm not very good so far. Oh, I see. So you basically you get these little bursts you can do. It's not like Asteroids where you have to hold it forward and then that's like your thruster. You barely push up and it just, it's like an instant boost that lasts for a little while. I will say I do like the bouncing kind of physics. Man, pretty impressive for the time. Yeah, that's pretty good. I can see why that's one of the more popular games. Let's try out Jupiter Lander. Kind of seems like that's going to be a clone of Lunar Lander. Okay. Ooh, screen positioning is kind of all squished on this one. I don't know why that is. I guess this is a official Commodore game. Turn that down. Cool, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, I get, whoa. What? Is this not a joystick game? Okay, I don't think this is a joystick game, so I guess I'm supposed to be using the keyboard or something. Wait, what key do I press? Is this a paddle game? Do I need paddles for this? Oh. D does something. Okay. Oh, an A. Okay. Okay. Oh, all right, buddy. Ooh, okay. Game over. All right. Well, that's a game. Cosmic Cruncher. This is the lightest cartridge, I think, of them all. Feels like there's maybe only like one ROM chip in there. Also, the PCB is split in this kind of weird way. Almost makes it look like a Super Nintendo cartridge, but it's not expanded in any way. It's just that's just how they split the PCB for some reason. Cruncher. Oh, is this a Pac-Man clone? Yep, that's exactly what this is. Got the big Commodore chicken lips is Pac-Man. Okay, well, it's definitely a different board layout than Pac-Man. I'll give him that for creativity, I guess. What is this? I ate the world. I just ate the world. This Commodore is gonna take over the world, I guess. Yeah. Well, it's not bad, honestly, for a Pac-Man clone. It's not the greatest or anything. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the maze design, but that's, you know, not bad. That is kind of the thing with the VIC-20 is most of the games on it are kind of clone games. There wasn't like a ton of like licensed arcade games, really. Let's try out Gorf. I believe this is an arcade game, but I've never actually seen it before. I just kind of heard of it. Gorf. Oh, this is another Midway game. Okay. All right. What am I doing here? Oh, is this like Space Invaders? Okay. Oh, I have a shield here. Okay, so this is like really weird Space Invaders. God, they're shooting so much. Ah, if I spam the thing, I can only have one shot go up at a time. Oh, I can move up and down as well. The replacement for the UFO. No, there is a UFO. Oh, there we go. Oh, whoa, okay. This is totally different. Oh, dang it. Whoa. Nope. Okay, well. That's interesting. It's not at all what I thought it was going to be. Mole attack. Seems like my TV needs some adjustment, I think, but push F1 to start. Okay. Oh, I'm supposed to be typing on the keyboard. Oh. G. B. N. H. G. B. G. There's a lot to look at here. I think this is like an educational game, maybe. Or at least like a help with your typing, I presume. Unless this is the only level that they have, in which case I don't know if these are really the ideal letters for you to be learning touch typing, but maybe, I don't know. And Clowns, our final game. Okay. One player. Oh, I can't even, what am I doing? Well, I can't really see what I'm doing here. Well, I don't really know how to play this then. And, yeah, my TV needs some adjustment, but anyways, yeah, those are our games. It works fine. Well, unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to end off things here. I mean, the restoration actually went okay, other than the badge getting messed up and 3 of the key stocks breaking and the key getting lost in the mail and spacebar being kind of funky. Okay, so it didn't exactly go well, but at least the case isn't yellow. Hey, there's that, right? But I at least have 2 basically fully working VIC-20s. I mean, sure, they each have their own kind of little issue, but hey, it's great. These will be pretty fun to play around with. Hopefully I can find some more games or get one of those penultimate cartridges that has like 50, 60 some games on them. Maybe I can mess around with some cassette software. Maybe look into what disc software is out there. I think there's hardly anything for the VIC, but probably be kind of a pain to get onto actual physical disc, considering I don't have any way to get the software from a modern computer on here. But the cassette, at least I can copy that with a cassette player, so there's always that option. Yeah, you may wonder if I'm going to retrowrite this one ever at some point. It is definitely quite a few shades more yellow than this one. Short answer, no. Long answer, only if it gets like significantly worse than this, which I don't think it will. Other than that whole deal, these are both ready to go. So thank you guys for watching. I'd like to do some more 8-bit microcomputer stuff eventually. It's probably not going to be often. I'm definitely still more of a PC guy at heart, but these machines are definitely very fun. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.